All right, welcome. Let's talk about one of the biggest moves any business can make, buying heavy equipment. Now, this can be the key to unlocking some serious growth, but believe me, it is filled with traps that most people just don't see coming. So today, we're going to break down how to do it right, from the financing and the taxes, all the way to a single legal mistake that can literally cost you everything.
So, you're looking at that new piece of gear and you're probably thinking, is it a lemon or am I overpaying? And yeah, those are valid concerns. But what if I told you the real landmines are hidden in the paperwork, in the tax code, even in how you send the money? We're going to make sure that shiny new asset doesn't turn into a giant hidden liability.
Okay, let's just dive right in. The first question is always the same. How in the world do you pay for this thing without, as one business owner so perfectly put it, nuking your cash flow? This first decision really sets the stage for everything else, so let's make sure we get this one right. At its heart, the choice seems pretty simple. You go with a loan, you're the owner from day one. That piece of equipment, it goes straight onto your balance sheet as an asset, and every single payment you make builds your equity. Or you lease it, and when you lease, you're basically a long-term renter. This usually means your monthly payments are lower, which is a huge win for keeping cash in the bank. And then, at the end of the term, you get to decide, do you want to buy it out, or maybe just upgrade to a newer model? So let's look at how these actually play out in the real world. A standard loan? That's your go-to when you know this machine is going to be a long-term workhorse for your fleet. A capital lease, on the other hand, is kind of like a lease-to-own deal. You get the lower payments now, and then you own it for $1 or maybe $10 at the end. But the sale-leaseback? Now that is a pro move. It's almost like a financial magic trick. You take equipment you already own, sell it to a lender for a big injection of cash, and then immediately lease it right back. You get the capital you need, and the machine never even leaves your job site. All right, so what does it really take to get a yes from a lender? Let's cut right to the chase. They're looking at 5 key things. First up, time in business. 2 years is sort of the magic number that proves you're stable. Second, your credit score, both personal and business. Think of it as your financial report card. Third, and this is a big one, your bank statements. They need to see that cash is consistently flowing in and out. They want proof you can handle the payments. Fourth, the equipment itself. How old is it? What kind of shape is it in? They're really just calculating its resale value if things go south. And finally, a nice, clean quote from the seller. It just makes everything faster and proves the deal is legit. Okay, so let's shift gears from financing the deal to, actually buying the thing, especially when you're not just walking into a big, shiny dealership. This is where things can get, well, a little nerve-wracking. And this comment from a user on Reddit just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? It captures that anxiety perfectly. You found the perfect machine, it's hundreds, maybe thousands of kilometers away, and you're about to wire transfer a huge amount of money to a total stranger. So how do you protect yourself from getting completely burned? Don't worry, there is a much, much safer way to do this. First off, you have to get an independent inspection. Never, ever skip this step. Then, instead of just wiring the whole chunk of change, you pay a small deposit, maybe 15%, just to show you're serious. Now here comes the most crucial part, step number 4. You only send the final payment once your own shipping company, the one you trust, has confirmed the machine is physically on their truck and secured for transport. That single step, right there, eliminates almost all the risk of fraud. It's a gift. Let's move on to everyone's favorite topic, taxes. Because how you buy this equipment directly impacts your tax bill, and sometimes in ways that are definitely not obvious. And this table just illustrates the point perfectly. Look, in a lot of provinces, like BC for example, they have different provincial sales tax rates for dealer sales versus private sales. So in this case, buying the exact same $60,000 vehicle from a private seller costs you an extra $1,200 in PST right out of the gate. All of a sudden, that great deal you found on Kijiji might not be so great after all. And the tax stuff doesn't stop there. If you own the equipment with a loan, you get to depreciate it over time. That means you claim a piece of its value, it's called capital cost allowance or CCA, against your income every year. But if you lease it, those monthly lease payments can often just be written off as a direct business expense. So a company with high profits might actually prefer that immediate write-off from a lease to lower their taxable income right now. A growing company, though, might want the long-term asset depreciation of a loan. One isn't always better than the other, which is exactly why you always run this stuff by your accountant. Okay, now for the part of this process that is, without a doubt, the most overlooked and, frankly, the most dangerous. We're going to look at a real Canadian court case that shows how one tiny little clerical error can cause a lender, and yeah, potentially a business, to lose absolutely everything. First things first, you need to know about something called the PPSA. That stands for the Personal Property Security Act. This is the legal system that lets a lender officially register their claim on the equipment you're financing. You should think of it as the concrete foundation that the entire deal is built on. And if the lender's PPSA registration has even a tiny mistake, that foundation cracks, and their security can become totally worthless.
So let me tell you the story about a man named Hoskins. He goes to buy a vehicle, and the lender, which was Honda, asks for his ID. He hands over his driver's license. It clearly says Thomas E. Hoskins. Seems simple enough, right? What could go wrong? So, based on that ID, Honda goes and files its official PPSA security registration under the name Hoskins Thomas E. This is the legal document that's supposed to protect their loan. They think they've dotted their I's and crossed their T's. They were wrong.
So a few years go by and Mr. Hoskins declares bankruptcy. And during the legal proceedings, his birth certificate comes out. And get this, it turns out his actual, legal, given at birth name was Edgar Thomas Jeffrey Hoskins. I mean, it's not even close to what was on his license or, more importantly, on that PPSA filing. And here is the absolutely devastating conclusion from the court. Because the name on that legal registration didn't exactly match the name on the birth certificate, the court ruled that Honda's security was invalid. Legally, it was worthless. When Hoskins went bankrupt, that vehicle was seized and sold off, and Honda got nothing, zero. They lost their entire asset, all because of a name. It's just wild. And you know, this wasn't just some one-in-a-million fluke. This kind of thing happens. You see lenders lose their security all the time because they filed against an old, outdated company name after a reorg. Or maybe they knew a business changed its name, but they forgot to update the PPSA registration within that 30-day window. The system is just brutally precise. And believe me, the courts show absolutely no mercy for these kinds of clerical errors. Okay, so after you've navigated the financing, the purchase itself, the taxes, and all that scary legal paperwork, there's just one thing left to do. Actually get that new piece of equipment to your yard or your job site. Yeah, moving heavy equipment isn't as simple as just hiring any old truck. It's a highly specialized industry. There are all these complex federal and provincial rules for everything, from weight limits to the exact type of trailer you need, like a flatbed or a lowboy for those oversized loads. This is a professional service, so make sure you get a quote early in the process so it doesn't end up being a last-minute, costly surprise. Wow, we have covered a ton of ground, haven't we? From financing strategies all the way to legal horror stories. So let's bring this all together into one simple but really powerful checklist that you can use for your next big purchase. All right, so here it is, your 5 key steps to protect yourself. For finance, you've got to look beyond just the monthly payment. Think about the total cost and the tax benefits. For the purchase, please use that deposit and balance system for private sales. On tax, do your homework and check your provincial rules before you sign anything. For legal, you have to insist that the PPSA name is an exact match to an official document like a birth certificate or articles of incorporation, not just a driver's license. And finally, don't forget to get that shipping quote early. That's it. That's your action plan. You know, buying a piece of heavy equipment is about so much more than just steel. It's really about building your company's future. Following these steps helps make sure that future is built on a solid foundation, not on top of a really costly mistake. So the only question left is, are you prepared to do the diligence it takes to protect it?